Who could imagine a 125-pound gentle giant sharing every single step of a child's earliest years, not as a threat, not as a watchdog, but as the most loyal, tender, and devoted guardian a little boy could ever have? From the very first day Drax arrived at just 8 weeks old, the world seemed to hold its breath. He wasn't just a puppy. He was a force of nature wrapped in fur. His paws, already the size of a grown man's hands, clumped on the hardwood floors like tiny thunder. His shoulders were broad, his muzzle strong, his eyes deep and dark like pools of still water. Strangers would stop and stare, some even stepping back nervously when they saw him. "Is that safe around kids?" they'd whisper. "He looks like a bear." But those who took a moment to look deeper saw the truth. Beneath that giant frame lived the softest soul imaginable. Drax didn't bark for attention. He didn't jump or barrel through doors. Even as a puppy, he moved with a quiet dignity, as if he already understood the weight of his presence, and chose gentleness instead. Not long after he came home, the family received life-changing news. They were expecting a baby. As the mother's belly grew, something remarkable happened. Drax began changing too, not in size, but in spirit. He started lying beside her on the couch, not on top, not crowding, but just close enough that his warm body curved gently around her. Often, he'd rest his massive head across her stomach, ears relaxed, eyes half closed, breathing slow and steady, as if he were already listening to the tiny heartbeat inside. He never pawed, never whined. He just guarded. It was as if he understood, in some wordless, instinctive way, that something precious was coming, and he had already chosen his role. The family, wise and loving, knew that a dog of Drax's size would one day be intimidating to strangers. So they committed to careful, consistent socialization. They introduced him to children, strollers, crowds, loud noises, not to overwhelm, but to teach. And Drax? He absorbed it all with quiet curiosity. He learned to sit when asked, to wait at doorways, to lower his head when toddlers reached toward him. His eyes, always steady, always kind, watched his humans like he was memorizing their rhythms, their needs, their love. Then came the day the baby arrived. The house filled with soft cries, the scent of baby powder, and the quiet awe of new parenthood. And Drax? He didn't bark, didn't pace, didn't even rush to the nursery. He simply waited outside the bedroom door until the father invited him in. Then, slowly, carefully, he stepped inside. He approached the bassinet, not with excitement, but with reverence. He lowered his head, sniffed gently, and then sat, just a few feet away, watching. From that moment on, he never left the boy's side for long. When the baby was placed in his playpen, Drax lay just outside the gate, chin resting on his paws, eyes never straying. When the parents tried to help their son roll over for the first time, Drax did something that brought tears to their eyes. He rolled onto his back beside him, this 100-pound puppy flopping gently onto the rug, paws in the air, tongue lolling in a goofy grin, as if to say, "Like this, little one, just like this." It wasn't mimicry, it was teaching. As the months passed, their bond deepened in quiet, everyday miracles. When the boy bounced in his jumperoo, Drax curled at his feet like a living anchor, steady, warm, immovable. When the child giggled, Drax's tail would thump against the floor, and he'd lean in until their foreheads almost touched, sharing joy like it was oxygen. When the boy napped, Drax lay just outside the crib, one ear always twitching at every sigh or whimper. They became inseparable. Not just pet and child, but companions, teachers, best friends. By the time the boy turned 1, Drax had reached his full size, 125 pounds of muscle, fur, and pure devotion. Yet his gentleness never wavered. In fact, it seemed to grow stronger. Perhaps it was Drax's calm presence that gave the toddler the courage to take his first steps. Standing wobbly in the living room, arms outstretched, the boy looked not at his parents, but at Drax. And Drax, he sat perfectly still, tail barely moving, eyes locked on him with gentle encouragement. One step, then another. And when the boy finally stumbled forward into his father's arms, Drax let out the softest woof, not of excitement, but of pride. As the years rolled on, their adventures grew. For his second birthday, the boy received a small ball pit. Most dogs his size would ignore it, or knock it over in a single leap. But not Drax. Without hesitation, he stepped into the sea of colorful balls, his massive body sinking slowly, carefully, until he was seated beside his best friend. Balls popped beneath his weight. Some flew into the air. The boy squealed with delight. And Drax? He just sat there, tongue out, eyes crinkled with joy, completely content in his tiny bouncing kingdom. That ball pit became their sanctuary. Rainy afternoons were spent there, boy giggling, giant dog wagging his tail like a happy metronome, both of them lost in a world where size didn't matter. Only love did. Drax never stole toys, never growled over food, never startled at sudden movements. He learned to open doors with his nose when the boy was stuck. He'd nudge drop sippy cups back within reach. He'd lie across the hallway at night, a silent sentinel between the child's room and the outside world. He wasn't trained to do these things. He chose them. Because to Drax, this child wasn't just family. He was his purpose. Now, as the boy grows taller, stronger, more curious, Drax walks beside him through every season. Through scraped knees and bedtime stories. Through first days of preschool and backyard camping trips. Through thunderstorms, where Drax curls around him like a living blanket, and summer sprinklers, where they both leap and laugh like puppies again. Their bond is a quiet testament to something the world often forgets. True strength isn't measured in pounds, but in patience. In the way a giant lowers his head so a small hand can reach his fur. In the way he holds still while tiny fingers tug at his ears. In the way he waits, always waits for his boy to catch up. Drax has never asked for anything in return. No treats, no praise, no spotlight. He just gives, fully, freely, endlessly. And in doing so, he teaches everyone around him what love really looks like. Steady, selfless, and soft, even in the biggest of hearts. If this story touched you, let it remind you, love doesn't always arrive in gentle whispers. Sometimes, it comes in the form of a 125-pound, gentle giant, with paws like dinner plates, and a heart bigger than the sky. Because dogs like Drax don't just share our lives. They shape them. They teach us how to be tender in a loud world, how to protect without possessing, how to grow together. And that is a miracle worth sharing.